So we're excited to be in Gering, Nebraska. And right down from the RV park that we're staying in, Robidoux RV Park, which is a city park, is Scotts Bluff National Monument. Let's go check it out. Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm Stacy.
I'm Tom, and we're RV Texas, y'all.
We are native Texans and full-time RVers who are all about exploring the great state of Texas and beyond, one campground at a time. We're on a mission to experience life, not just live it, and we're bringing you along for the fun.
In 2018, we sold our house, our business, and got rid of most everything we owned to hit the road and see America. Our home is a 33-foot RV named Freedom. We installed an extreme solar and lithium setup, so now we can just about live anywhere with our dog Star and our cat Astro.
Every day is a new adventure, so join us as we RV America, y'all. And yes, they do have stamps for our National Parks Passport book. They actually have a stamp for the park and one for each of the historic trails that came through here. That's pretty neat. Oregon, Scotts Bluff National Monument, Oregon Trail, California Trail, Mormon Pioneer Trail, and the Pony Express.
Awesome.
Very cool. So now, right by the Visitor Center, we're going to take the Oregon Trail Passway. This goes on some of the original Oregon Trail, and they've got some replica wagons. It also goes to a camp for an artist who they learned a lot of the history from, because he actually was on the trail back in the 1860s and he documented his travels. Looks like they've got some reenactors or rangers out here as well, so let's go check it out. We are so excited. This is a huge treat. We are sitting here talking to Ranger Quetzal, and he has agreed to tell you a little bit about Scotts Bluff.
So Scotts Bluff National Monument was truly established because the local community saw fit to protect this area. They petitioned the United States government to protect it a number of times. Finally, on their third attempt after the establishment of the National Park Service, it didn't fall on deaf ears. And the importance of this park in establishment was not only the fact that the Oregon-California Trail came right through here, the Pony Express after that, and then the telegraph line. But also, as you look up here, the geology of the park as well, these bluffs, these features, and the paleontology. We have fossils that exist in these formations as well. So those are three of the major things that you look at when you see this landscape and its importance as a national monument. You have to understand too, all of those immigrants that were traveling west here, what their impression of the land was. You know, if you're coming from the eastern United States, everything's covered in vegetation. So even if you have topography, you don't get this dramatic rise that you see in our formations here. So as immigrants traveled west on the trails, you'll see in their journals and diaries how they are experiencing this landscape. From Courthouse and Jail Rock to the east of us, to then Chimney Rock. And then as you're progressing this way from Chimney Rock, you start to see these bluffs on the horizon. And it's amazing what some of these immigrants wrote about their impression, like a castle that is lost of its inhabitants, you know. That's to me kind of our bread and butter of that experience, so to speak, for the immigrants.
And I think that's such a great point. You know, just when we were driving into the area and you come off the plains, and I remember, I was like, wow,
what is this?
And I can just imagine if that has that impact on me today, coming in by vehicle, what it
Imagine
would have
coming
been
in
like.
that, right there. In that wagon.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what I kind of explain to our visitors is as you're approaching this and you're like, wow, this is Western Nebraska, you know, this is Nebraska. And the other thing you have to understand is that the majority of the trail through Nebraska follows the Platte River. Well, if you've ever driven I-80 through Nebraska, it all looks the same because you're following that Platte River Valley. When the trail breaks off and starts up this North Platte route, that's where you start to see this gradual change into these different features. So much like visitors today can experience it, the pioneers of days past experienced that as well. You know, today we get, you know, a considerable amount of visitation, you know, 180,000 to 120,000 visitors a year. And, you know, protecting these special places is important, you know, and helping people understand that these National Park Service sites, they belong to you. They belong to everyone. And the variety of them out there that protect our cultural history, but also the natural beauty of our country. And the one thing that I ask, you know, as a ranger is that people enjoy them, respect them, and care for them. And we can make these places compatible for those future generations to experience much what the pioneers did and also what our visitors today are experiencing.
Well said. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your work.
Well, and I've had a great conversation with both of you today as well. So enjoy your journeys and keep up the good work.
32 years.
Yeah, 32 years I've been at this.
Oh, and he went to Lamar University in Beaumont. How about that?
I did. Yes, indeed. Well, thank you much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So this wagon is the Conestoga wagon. It was the largest of the wagons, and they said that it could be pulled by up to 24 oxen. It was oxen that pulled these wagons, not horses. The wagon behind us is the Murphy wagon. It was usually, I think they said 11 feet by 4 feet long and 10 feet tall, and could carry like 2,000 pounds. And behind it is the Studebaker wagon. They went on to make automobiles.
Oh, and by the way, they also said that the people, they didn't ride in the wagons. Only the sick and the kids would ride in the wagon because that would be too much weight. So they actually walked. So most of the adults and stuff walked the whole trail.
2,000 miles in some cases.
Yeah, so probably weren't too many skinny pioneers back in the day, or too many overweight pioneers back in the day, because they got their exercise, that's for sure.
So prior to 1851, the preferred pass to get through this area was a few miles from here. It was called Robidoux Pass, and it took you further away from the river, but it was considered an easier way to get through the rocks. The soldiers from Fort Laramie came through and improved this pass, which is Mitchell Pass, made it easier to get their supplies through, and the pioneers followed. So then after 1851, the pioneers chose Mitchell Pass more often because it was closer to the river and it had been improved, but they had to go through almost single file on their wagons. They had to kind of go through this bottleneck to get between these two rock formations.
This is the actual pass, right?
This that we're walking on now is the original Oregon Trail. That's pretty neat.
And it saved them a day, right?
Yes, it saved them basically a day's travel by going the Mitchell Pass instead of the Robidoux Pass. They said, depending on the weather, it could be oppressively hot along this stretch. You could have wind blowing into your face so hard that you'd have to lean into it. Or if it was the rainy season, you could be up to your ankles in mud. And that is why you see these berms on either side, because they would have had to dig the wagons out, I guess, as they traveled. We've seen that in other places along other historic trails, or maybe just the sheer volume of folks who came through wore the path down. But it is very cool that we are actually right now walking on the Oregon Trail. That's really neat. Yeah, I can see where it would be tough to get more than one wagon through here at a time.
And there would be hundreds of wagons to come through here at some point.
Yes. Talk about congestion.
Yeah.
Traffic jam. So in 1866, William Henry Jackson came through here and he camped in this area. And he is the man who they learned a lot about Scotts Bluff and the travels of the pioneers along this trail because he was an artist and he decided to put down what he was seeing in his watercolors and drawings. 70 years later, he came back and helped dedicate the museum here at Scotts Bluff National Monument. And while he was here, he brought the park rangers out to this point. It's at the end of the Oregon Trail pathway here. And he showed them, this is where we camped when we were coming through here. It'd be a pretty amazing spot. But you can see a lot of his art today in the museum here in the park. So once you come up to the summit, you can drive or hike up to the summit here, and either way I think it's amazing. We drove, obviously.
Yeah.
We definitely want to do the hike while we're here.
Yeah, and we're on a trail right now.
There's a couple of small trails up at the top of the summit, so you could just drive up, park at the top, and take a few little walks.
And what you can see here is CCC built stuff up here.
Absolutely.
It's really cool. The CCC had a big hand in this park here, and this park is free.
Absolutely free. Wow. Became a national monument in 1919. So behind me is the park headquarters for Scotts Bluff National Monument. They also have a movie inside and a museum. Really shares a lot more information about the area. There's also rangers inside to answer your questions, give you more information about things to see in the area, the history of the area, the geology of the area. Absolutely fascinating. And yes, the CCC did build the original section of this building behind me. Now, we did find out that the original trail that you can hike up to the summit, at least the original trail, was actually built by the Boy Scouts back in the day. And it sounds like the Work Progress Administration and or the CCC built what we walk on today back in the 1930s. So love finding history like that. Absolutely recommend coming here to Scotts Bluff National Monument. Make sure you put it on your stop. They do have a little bit of larger RV parking and things like that. Not a ton, but we totally recommend staying somewhere in the area and coming for a couple of days so you can really enjoy it without having to wear yourself out. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Join us next time and make sure you hit subscribe so you see more of the adventures. Until next time, safe travels and happy camping. Bye.